welcome back. I do believe that Brad has decided to leave the intros in my hands from now on. Yes?
I think you decided that.
Oh.
Just now. So.
Okay. Would you like to do attempt number 2?
We're coming up on summer break, everybody. I don't know. Hey, what's up?
None of these things are like full sentences that you're,
They're just little tags.
Okay, but okay. Yes, we've decided that I'm going to do the intros from most of the time on. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. Guys, welcome back. We're always excited to be with you and excited to share a new review with you. We're thankful for those of you that are taking the time to send us DMs, emails, just messages on both Apple and Spotify. And yeah, we appreciate that. YouTube as well. We're getting comments on there. It really does encourage us. And it's a really big deal because it's one of the easiest ways you can support us and other people can find us. So if you haven't taken the time to do that, we would just encourage you to do so. And honestly, these reviews encourage other people. A lot of people share their hearts in such a way that I think it's really encouraging to other people as well, which I love. So this one is from Cody G83. It says, "Thank you, Jesus." It says, "Thank you so much for your honesty and vulnerability and sharing your story and your walk with each other in Jesus. We are almost 2 years into our reconciliation process from me confessing to my wife I had been involved in an affair. God sent my wife your podcast randomly, but not randomly, on her social media within a week of me telling her, and I'm so thankful. Our road to recovery has been real and raw, but we are now in a better place than we have ever been in our nearly 17 years of marriage. I would have told you 2 years ago where we are today was impossible. But through Jesus, all things are possible. Through this journey, I've still struggled to forgive myself, but the freedom I felt was literally instant when I rededicated my life to Jesus and was rebaptized 2 weeks ago. This is a walk people can't understand fully until they've been in it, but if they're in it, they need to hear from the two of you. Please don't ever quit sharing your story in such a real way, and especially the difference following Jesus will make."
Oh, that's awesome.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
And I love so much in that is that you truly have found that healing, redemption, all of those things, it's Jesus. Like Jesus does the work that we never ever could. And I also love that when you look back at your story 2 years ago, it seemed impossible.
Yeah.
And that's been our journey too. And so thank you for sharing that so much. We appreciate it. And speaking of our journey, when this comes out, we're going to be just a few days away from 24 years of marriage.
Right.
Like 24 years.
Yeah.
That's just crazy for me to think about. Like I've been married longer with you than I lived at home,
Or with anyone else.
Or with,
I mean,
yeah,
that's just the way you said that. So
okay, well.
I've been married longer with you.
Well, I have been. I've been married longer with you. Yes, but 24 years. And so a couple things like this, we're about to go on summer break with the pod. So for those of you who listen faithfully every week, take some time to go back over episodes, send us episode ideas over the summer because our goal is over the summer to get some episodes pre-recorded because we've got a busy fall coming up as well. So send us some episode ideas because we'd love that. And we'd appreciate your just prayer and support through the summer as we just take some time for our family, for ourselves. But also we wanted to make sure that we gave like some 24 lessons we've learned in 24 years of marriage. Not sequentially and or.
No, they're not in order. They're not in any order.
No.
Also, I feel like I just was reminded about that TV show 24. Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
You're giving me that ridiculous look right now.
Because of all the things. I'm like,
because 24, like 24,
I get
24.
It, except that we're like, we're going to give.
like of a countdown.
Like, we're going to give 24 pieces of advice we have for marriage. You're like, remember that action movie 24? Like, oh, what? Okay. Do you want to give me a correlation between the action movie 24 and one of our tips? Okay. But that was a good show, except it did get a little long, I think. It was like 24, like 7 times.
Yeah.
So anyways, 24 marriage tips for 24 years. And so we could probably have spent a chunk of time on each one of these at some point.
Yeah.
And so make sure you go back and listen to full episodes. But I think it's just like a good reminder, all at once of the things that we really feel have a big impact on your marriage. Yeah. So go ahead, baby. Number 1.
Oh, am I starting off?
Yeah, you're starting.
Okay. Mm-hmm. No particular order.
No particular order. Yeah.
But the first one is just to choose each other daily. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Choose each other daily is sounds so simple, but in real life, this is the determining factor of couples that stay together or don't.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think of your career, your kids. Like, how many times do you not choose your spouse?
Yeah.
Right.
And so choose each other every single day.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
There you go. No further explanation necessary. Just keep choosing each other. Choose each other despite each other.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I think that's where people
100%.
start really, falling short in this area is well, I'll choose you, but you better live up to a certain standard. So choose each other despite each other. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. The second one that we have is pray together often. Yeah. I really would say pray together daily. And I know that this is something that in our own marriage, we don't every single day, but we try pretty consistently to have that every single day. It is part of our normal routine to pray with each other. And I think it has a big impact.
Yeah, I think that we're pretty consistent.
Yeah.
We're usually not the weekends.
I think that's the only time.
Because we're together. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of, so we've made it a habit to when I'm leaving for work to pray with each other. Mm-hmm. This says with each other, right? Not for each other.
No,
you should pray for each other.
You should always pray for each other, but this is specifically with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a spiritual thing that happens when you pray with your spouse. Mm-hmm. It really is a connection. And I think it's difficult to, not difficult, but it definitely makes it more difficult to be angry with or fight with your spouse when you are praying together. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the big thing. And plus you're bringing the same thing before the Lord. And so praying together is a powerful tool that most couples will avoid because of a discomfort that's there in the beginning. It just feels awkward.
It is awkward at the beginning, I think, for sure. Mm-hmm. It's I've joked around, I don't feel like I have this, King James version of praying, when I speak. Although
you say this, I have heard you pray and it's so powerful, but you get in your head about prayers. Mm. That's the only time where I can see you literally sitting there thinking sometimes when you're praying, and I'm like, man, I've heard you pray when you just let God just boom. I'm just in awe of yeah. So just so you know.
Okay. Well, now I know.
Yeah.
Things you learn every day.
Yeah, things you learn.
Yeah. I've never known this. You've never told me that. But now you're telling me that.
You're a good prayer.
Oh gosh.
Just so you know.
No, it is awkward at first, but I think I always go back to, it's so funny because there's, from the before God gave us this ministry, before we started this whole thing, and we had a marriage group, and that was one of the first, I think that was the first challenge we had given people. And there was a couple in there that had such a hard time with it, such a hard time. And they had, they probably got 12 kids now.
No, they have 6. They had 5.
Yeah. But I'm like, you guys are popping.
And they're just no,
kids
we cannot
right
do this.
And left, but you cannot pray together.
But they did by the end, which
did.
was
No.
cool.
Yeah, they did. I'm just saying it was just funny. It's how hard it is. It's not hard to get naked together, but you guys could not pray together. Mm-hmm. It was pretty wild. Which shows that's usually the case.
Yeah, and it shows how vulnerable that is.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, and I've never met a woman who serves God that does not want her husband to pray over her. There's just there's something just really, really special about that within a couple and a husband praying over a wife. It's just very, very special. Yeah. And I think if you are not doing that, you're really missing out on some really beautiful ways that God shows us love and how he answers prayer. You know, I think there's things that we've prayed over together that we have gotten to see answers to prayer over because we did it together. So number 3,
pursue, don't settle.
Unrelenting pursuit.
Yep. I think we should have started out saying that this like list is very our style.
Yeah.
You know.
No, it's all things that
a majority of this list, I think we do have an episode on
100%. Yeah.
You know, so this is like a big recap basically, but yeah, pursue each other. Don't settle. Don't settle for a roommate, you know? I mean, and I think that, you know, it's the old, like, you know, you before you get married, this isn't always the case. This is just a generalization of what you, like, this is what I've seen as far as jokes that are made and stuff where it's like, before you're married, you're in great shape, you're, you know, get your hair cut, like everything's all put together, you know, this is while you're dating, and then you get married and then it's just like, blah, like all, it all. And I mean, again, I'm generalizing, of course, you know, but the premise of it is like, okay, we won, right? We got married, or, you know, I won, or you won, you know, kind of that whole,
now you don't have to do anything
got
anymore.
married. Yeah. She's stuck with me. So now
stuck with
I can
me.
just, you know, live however I want as far as, you know, I don't
have to work at this anymore.
Yeah. I had to work hard before, you know, we got married, but now that she said yes and we're married, like I really don't have to work that hard. And I think that that's a huge fallacy of marriage, period.
For sure.
You know, it should actually be stronger. Like your pursuit, I think, should be stronger.
I agree with you because I think, you know, I heard a saying and I love this saying so much, but it says the average person has 4 great loves. And if you're blessed, it's with the same person. And I just loved it so much because I'm like, that's so true because we change. And so pursuit of your spouse means that you're getting to know them, like, and you're changing. And, you know, I wanted to just very quickly, I have a woman that I've been coaching like for a couple of years that I've been coaching, and we don't meet as often anymore, but we always like touch base probably every month or every other month we touch base. And you know, this was someone that had told me in the beginning when I first started coaching her, just kind of the impossibility she faced with her husband. This wasn't an affair that she was dealing with, but just kind of a husband who seemed to be so set in his ways and a lot of unhappiness. And there was a lot of things. And I got to have a coaching session with her just this week. And I got to, what I told her was just a hallelujah dance with her as she just talked about the changes that she was seeing in her husband, like these cycle breaking changes that she was experiencing. And I was like, man, that is what is so beautiful about pursuit, right? Pursuit. And we have the ability to change. And like, if you just continue in, you know, doing what God asks you to do, it's like you get to let him have all of those things that you look at as impossible. And it's just the coolest thing. Like, I love that we can just keep pursuing each other. I don't know. It's just really awesome. That was just such a cool thing for me to hear this past week. So now all you guys get to hear it too. Okay. We also have fight fair and not to win.
Yep.
How do you feel about that, Brad?
I don't win any fights.
That sounds awful.
No, but I mean, we don't.
Well, yeah, we don't have, we disagree. I wouldn't classify anything that we have as a fight. But disagreements, of course. And I think, you know, it's very interesting, the fighting in marriage, because there's a lot of very volatile fights that happen in people's marriages. And in those moments, people are saying things they don't really mean. No. But it's just to win the fight or just to win the
fight and to hurt someone.
And what's so crazy about that that we've seen over and over and over again is in those volatile moments, emotions are high.
Yeah.
You're saying things you don't really mean, saying things that you regret, doing things you regret. People take that as the truth.
Yeah, you should look at that as a physical act. Like, would you go up and smack, like your wife or your husband?
You should never do that, by the way. Yeah, so you should not. I don't think
we have to asterisk that. What I'm saying is, like, you would never do that, so why would you do that with words?
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Or it's the whole, like, sticks and stones, whatever. Well, no, because that says words will never hurt me. It's the opposite of that, actually. Yeah, because words
will hurt you.
Well, I mean, especially from your spouse, right? I've said it before, like, someone can yell whatever they want at me, and it's not that big of a deal, But from you, like absolutely.
Or like, I never told you that you were a good prayer.
Yeah. I mean, I've never dwelt on that, so I've never had to. No, but would you go up and hit your spouse? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't. You shouldn't, like you said, but you wouldn't. But yet you'll attack them verbally,
right?
So you can win an argument. It's the same thing.
Yeah. And then you expect the recovery time. When something like that happens, it's like, well, I didn't mean it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Never mind. I'll just.
Yeah, but those things are like embedded, especially when someone kind of goes through that repeated pattern in a fight. Mm-hmm. Those things just like embed in someone, and they just start to live their life through the lens of what is said out of anger and winning. And what we mean by fighting fair is that you are recognizing, okay, we might be disagreeing about something, but ultimately we stand like, okay, we're for each other and we're working towards resolution. Mm-hmm. And that is fighting, quote unquote, from a fair place. Is like, I'm not out here to win against you. Yeah. We want to win it. We want to win together. Fighting
is such a like next level word for this. I mean, so when I think of like, fighting, I think of like this yelling.
Okay.
Like you're flat out yelling at each other, which
there's a lot of marriages that do. Yeah.
It's just so crazy to me. It is. It really is. I mean, we were never yellers before our, whole event, right? And I think we had like a couple blow-ups, when we were fresh getting back together, fresh reconciliation. But overall, like, it's the whole thing of, I've said it before. Someone agreed with me. One of our friends, I can't remember who it was, was saying like, yeah, I agree. You should never yell at a grown adult should never yell at another grown adult. I mean, even kids, yelling at them. I'm not a softy parent. Okay. First of all, like,
I'm like, I definitely yelled at my children.
Yeah, we did yell at our kids, but it's a different kind of thing, but, so the fighting itself, I mean, we have disagreements. I can't even think of the last time we've had, not that we're perfect.
No. I mean, I think
we're not.
You're married for 24 years, then you start to.
And then also there's probably, things that could be arguments or fights, however you want to, classify it. But then it's like, do I really even want to,
Yeah, it's not avoiding tough things, but it's just recognizing when a little thing is a little thing.
Yeah.
And like a lot of times we let little things be big things just because of the other stressors that are going on in our life, where it's like, can I choose to let that go today? Yeah. Like that's okay. Like,
no, I mean, we live on the border. I do know some Latinas that they're not going to let anything go. There's going to be something. That's just how it is.
I'm just waiting for people to come up to you on Sunday and ask, like, were you talking about me? And
I'm going to be like, well, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if that was you or not.
Just saying, this is risky business, what you're saying right now.
Yeah. Come on. They're all our friends. It's fun.
Risky business. Friends tell to come up
at you. Are we having an argument right now?
Yes, we are. We should have said... I want to find the better way to say it instead of saying fight fair, where it's like,
I know, that's
disagree
what I'm saying.
Fair, but that doesn't go as well.
Stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
It really does.
Okay.
No, not that you're not stupid. It just sounds stupid.
That sounds stupid. Your idea was dumb.
Oh, but I just feel like, yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is understanding that you're on the same team.
Yeah.
And that you can have disagreements and you can come to some kind of resolution on that, but you're not out to win. I think that's the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, I have a point, and I
win.
need you to be on my page, and I'm going to win this no matter what it takes.
Yeah.
That's not going to work out well for you. Yeah. If you're winning, you're losing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's the reality.
Yep. No, for sure. This one goes along with it, I think. Forgive quickly and fully. And then, we talk about bitterness, how that can poison your marriage.
And you.
And yourself. But I think, both, it is kind of the same. You poison yourself, you poison your marriage.
That's so true.
But forgive quickly and fully. The and fully is...
Yeah, this is where people get
really
into the list of like, okay, well, I'll forgive you. But like I put that in this doesn't mean that you forget. I feel like people get very confused about this, where it's like, I can't forgive you because I can't forget it.
And so let me get into this too. So that's true. I agree with you. We're not fighting. So
Thank you for continuing to classify that. I'd be super concerned. Like, I guess we're in a fight here on the podcast. This is happening. We're waging war.
No. So one, you have to understand, did you forgive? Like, did you really forgive? Or did you just say you forgive? Right? And here's how you test this.
Okay.
No, seriously.
I know. I'm curious.
If you, we're about to fight. No, I'm just
I'm just genuinely curious how you know. You're feisty today.
You are.
Now we're going to fight.
Exactly. Oh, gosh. No. So here's how you test if you've really forgiven that person, right? We're talking about your spouse, but just in general. When you talk about them, how do you feel? Do you bring up the offense that happened, right? Or do you just talk about them like normal? You know what I mean? So like, if it was somebody else, right? So not that I'm not using you as an example because of something, but I just can't think of anything right now. I could think of like people that have like really drug some of my friends through the dirt, right? Made me so mad. And so, like, I forgive them, right? Because they're out of my life. I don't have to see them anymore. Like this whole, I forgive them. But when I think about them, the first thing that comes in my head is like them, how like vengeance should come upon them. If you want to know how I really feel.
Straight vengeance should come upon them.
And so that checked me because I was like, okay, I said I forgive them, but I'm not really forgiving them.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then, since this is your marker. Yeah. Because I agree with you and disagree with you.
Here we go. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me get the gloves.
Because I think that, yes, I agree with you to a certain extent. But I think that there's like, this is where things can get a little, for lack of a better word, fluid in this area. As far as like, let's say you have an abuser that you're trying to think of, okay, when I was a kid, I've had an abuser for, years and years and years. Right. And I don't think you ever get to the place where you're thinking of them without having this element of like weight of like, oh man, that happened, but it's releasing the, like,
I didn't say you didn't have the weight.
Oh, okay. Cause like I want to clarify it then. Clarified. Check.
I didn't say you don't remember what happened, but what's it make you, what do you feel about that person when you think about it?
But that's what I mean. Like, of course you're not going to be fuzzy feelings about that.
No, but like if you feel hate, did you forgive them? Like I've been in a conversation where the person's like, I forgive them, and then talks about them with this disdain.
Right.
Of what, not agreeing or not accepting what happened, like, not backing, I can't even think of the word right now, but not condoning their actions or what happened or what they did to them, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they talk about them with this disgust of like, you don't get forgiveness from when they're talking about it. Like you don't hear this forgiveness part of it. It's I forgive them, but.
So back to my analogy, I would say in that situation, like you would have that conversation and it would be like, that does disgust me, what happened to this person. But I would say this, but I have walked out in freedom from that. That to me is like where you're like going, okay,
yes, but your tone and everything you're saying to me says that you forgave them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Right. Or we've sat across from couples and every time we meet with them, it's like one spouse or the other, whichever, it doesn't matter, he or she, but, oh, I got triggered this week and because this happened, but because this happened, the reason I got triggered was because of all these things that he did, like, or that she did. We know we're sitting across from you.
They pulled a suitcase back out.
Yeah, we're sitting across from you. Like, this is why you came to us first, right? Like, we've kind of hashed this out. Like, we get the betrayal, we get the, whatever it is. Like, we understand that part of it. You don't have to keep bringing it up, know. And we talked about this week with another couple where, like, I remember, I think you told them, like, you don't have. I said you don't have to remind someone what they did. Especially your spouse, right?
Well, yeah, because you never forget the worst things you've done.
No. So I don't have to remind, like, you're not ever going to have to remind me what happened, ever. And I remember at one point I told you that.
Yeah.
Because I got to a point of this.
Because for me, it was a safety thing where I'm like, I'm going to remind you of this.
Yeah. In case you forgot.
In case you forgot. Or like if you seem to not be working on things in the same way, or then I would bring something up because I felt like then, okay, well then we both remember and like, we're not going to forget and we're going to work on it.
I think that there was forgiveness, but I don't think it was full.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
do you understand what I'm saying? And that's what
that.
I'm getting at with this.
Yeah, because we hadn't walked out the full process.
And fully, right? And I'm not saying you can forgive quickly, but the and fully might take a little while. But I would say don't wave the forgiveness flag in the air if it's not fully there, right? And I've struggled with this in the sense of like that specific example I'm talking about, where I've been the one, right? Like, oh well, yeah, I forgive them, and then I'm like, but man, I think
for me, I had to verbalize that and then walk that out.
Yeah,
but for me, it was a consistent reminder for me.
That's what I just said. You forgive quickly, like it's saying, but the fully part takes a while.
Yeah. But I just mean like, though you said, don't wave the forgiveness. Like for me, it was part of that was like saying, I am going to forgive you.
I'm going to.
Like I told you, I forgive you.
Yeah.
But then like walking that out on a day-to-day process.
But you didn't tell me every day you forgive me.
No, it was me walking that
and
out.
You weren't like waving this flag, like I've forgiven you. Yeah. Like it wasn't like that. You just, I forgive you. And then there was this healing and fully forgive. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I'm glad
agree to disagree. Everybody.
It's interesting to kind of talk and hash this stuff out because I think we mean the same things, but we communicate it differently. And I think it's important that people have both sides of that, if you will, in the fact that somebody will take one thing that you're saying and they will run with it and vice versa. And it's like, well, we need like the full picture of what we actually are talking about. So, okay. So our next one is keep no secrets. And I think this will really help you in the forgiveness area.
Yeah. And words and like, there's no secrets that I keep from you, but I think there's things that even you don't tell me, but it's not out of you keeping it from me. It's just that we just don't talk about it. Right. You know what I mean? So I think that clarifying that a little bit more. You don't
want to know all the conversations I have with my girlfriends or any, you know what I mean? Okay.
That could get exhausting. I could hear, too like
much of a
hallway
an agreement
at church. I hear like hallway conversations while I'm talking and I'm like, whoa,
what do you hear?
I can't even like, I can't navigate this highway. This highway of communication back and forth looked like Houston under construction.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
That's ridiculous.
Like crazy.
No, but I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah. This doesn't mean like, okay, every conversation with a friend, but you should be able to do those things as far as like yourself. Like there's nothing I'm going to hide from you about me.
Yes.
That you cannot like know.
There's
and I think that's the difference.
People share with you that you don't share with
No, of course not.
Because you've told them like,
and I'm protecting them and their heart.
And that's not keeping a secret. So like clarifying all of these points, right? But that right there, keep no secrets, that's about me. Like I'm not keeping, there's nothing about me you don't know.
That like we have access to each other.
Yes.
And that's what it means is like, okay, we have access to passwords. We have access to social media. We have access to hearts and bodies and lives. Like we have access to each other. Like there's not going to be this like, okay, you have access to me, except this one thing that I've decided to, just
not this.
You just don't need to know about that because that would cause, some kind of tension. And I think that's the checkpoint for anyone. If you had a conversation with somebody that you don't feel that your spouse, like if they would see it or hear it, would be comfortable with, that's a check that you need to pay attention to.
Yep.
It's like, okay, well, like you should be able to hear any of my conversations and know that I'm honoring you, myself, and our marriage. Hands down.
Yep. Agreed. Celebrate the small things.
I love this.
Yeah.
I think we've learned this. We learn this through life, but I think we learn this especially through crisis.
That's when you learn it. I don't think you learn this without crisis attached to it.
Yeah. I mean, you learn it, but it's not the same. I think
as a little kid, you learn it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's Christmas.
It's Christmas. Yeah. Well, that's a big thing. It's not a small thing. You
said
celebrate the small things.
But you said learn it. Like that's what you learn it as a kid. Like, oh, okay, it's birthdays, it's Christmas, and you start celebrating.
Those are all big things to me. So small things you learn as a kid is like
the ant on the ground.
The ant on the ground. Yeah, explain more to me, please.
Kids.
Why would I celebrate?
Because like I remember my mom, and so with my kids, like she would sit there and like there would be ants on the ground, and my mom would go and get a bowl of jelly so that the kids could see
that's a good
the ants going into the jelly and like going back to and me, I'm like, oh, Lord have mercy. Like we just brought an entire thing of ants like over to the front yard.
Yeah, not literal small things, but taking these mundane things throughout the day, but also progress.
Yeah.
Where it's small steps in the right direction that can strengthen your marriage and strengthen your walk with Christ and all those things. But, I had a discussion, the past week or a couple of weeks ago about this as far as we, and I'm 100%, this is not a metaphorically we, this is me as well. We don't look at the progress. Like we tend to always look at where we want to be, and then we look at where we're at and we see what's wrong. Instead of, I'm not saying that that's not good, right? I think there's some healthy part of that, right? But also, okay, check yourself. Where were you last week? Where were you last month? Where were you 3 months ago, a year ago? Like there's progress. Yeah,
and you don't usually see it if they're so small sometimes.
Absolutely.
That it requires the effort of looking at it over an extended period for you to actually see that clearly. And I think especially in, healing moments, especially in crisis, man, you have to learn to say like, but we are not where we were.
Yeah.
We are not where we were. We may not be where we want to be yet, right? But we aren't back there. And that is huge. It gives you enough encouragement to know that over time a difference has been made. And that's so huge.
It's just not overlooking the ordinary things.
I love that.
It is the ant, the ants on the floor, the joy or curiosity, that when you see a baby or like a toddler and their face when they see something, and just that awe, like that's it, like look at those ordinary things and celebrate them and really do it.
And it helps you find a lot more joy in life, which in general, touch often.
Yep. We're not going to give a number for the week.
Roger's,
but yes.
I did not realize in my life how important this was to me.
Yep.
I don't know. Until maybe even the last like several years that I really realized like how important this is to me.
I dislike it heavily whenever I feel like you haven't like touched me throughout the week. Yeah.
I feel like you need to bring some more clarification.
Not like that. Not like that. I mean, like when we're super busy.
I dislike it heavily.
See, now I know what we should be talking about, and I wasn't going that route. But no, like when we're super busy and like you're just very busy, and so we don't get to like
no touch points throughout the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like even I notice
I feel neglected. I do. I feel neglected.
I just feel like
going back to no secrets.
This is just like a confession time, and I feel neglected. Just FYI, if that's the case.
Yes.
Noted.
Okay.
But even like little things like us holding hands in the car.
Yep.
Or like you'll reach over and sometimes
here we go. You don't want me to hold your hand. Is that what you're going to say?
No. Oh. Like you'll reach over and you'll put your hand behind the chair. But I'm like, my neck is right here. Shoot. Like I am
I don't feel touched though. That's why I do it. I'm just giving you a little tease. My arm's up here, but I'm not touching
I could, but I'm not going to. No, but I think that those touch points are important, and for you as a marriage to recognize that that's not sexual.
Yeah.
You know, not that can't be sexual, obviously, but that it's the connection points. And we just had this conversation as well, like those micro connections throughout the day. Like I see you, like I'm reaching for you, even if you don't have this extended period of time, those little touch points throughout the day help you to stay and feel connected. Because I'm not going to do that with anyone else. Right. Yeah. And so that's the connection point. Like when you reach by me and, you know, you put your hand on the small of my back, or I, you know, just rub your back when we're in church or something like that. It's like, these are things we do because we love each other and we're married. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more important to me than I ever realized.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's your turn. Yeah. It's
me
turn.
I said touch often, didn't I?
No.
Okay. We're on number 9. In case you guys are writing these down.
Yes.
Guard your marriage relentlessly.
Yeah.
And I think that says it. That says it all. I don't think people fully grasp this concept in their marriage. I really don't. Because, you know, we love the great example is this. We love watching movies. We love watching like a good show. You know, we've always gone to movies, always been able to do those things. And I think from the get-go, you should be doing this. But, you know, then we started using VidAngel. And, I mean, some people laugh at us about using that. But I don't, I laugh at them because I'm like, I don't understand how you're watching that and protecting your marriage relentlessly. You know, and they would just say, well, like, no, it's just entertainment. It's not that big of a deal. But isn't that continuous thing, you know, like, oh, well, that's not that big of a deal. Well, then what else is not that big of a deal?
Yeah, we don't realize how much that bleeds into our perspective of marriage and each other and our sexuality, you know, what we listen to, what we watch. Like we're bombarded enough with just regular life, much less your entertainment options when it comes to.
But it goes deeper than that, of course. Yeah. It's friendships. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many.
Dating each other. Even that, like you guard your marriage by like, you need to date each other. Like people just stop doing that too.
Mm-hmm. No, I just think that people aren't looking to the outside of their marriage for attacks that are going to happen in their marriage. No. They're not thinking that. Mm-mm. But that's exactly what it is. And he said it's an onslaught from everything, from social media, from people at work, from whatever it may be. But if you don't set those guardrails or boundaries, whatever you want to call them, up, and you don't do those things, then you're not protecting your marriage. I mean, you protect what you cherish, and the way you can see that is through your actions. I mean, you might say that, you cherish your marriage, but what are your actions saying? You might not think it's a big deal, but it is, and it will eat away at your marriage. What marriage could you have?
That's a good way of putting it.
Right? You have no idea, because you're not intentional about protecting your marriage from those threats from the outside.
Yeah. I mean, I have always loved Dave Ramsey when he talks about finances, where he says you live like no one else so you can live like no one else. But I think that applies to marriage in so many ways, because it's like, people are unwilling to basically lay down temporary whatever in order to look for the perspective of like, we're going to ruthlessly, you said it, you have to have ruthless elimination of anything in your marriage.
And it needs to
in
happen.
Life.
It's the difference, there's people that are like, when they're working out, and they like, man, I want to be like that person, right? I want to look like that, whatever it is, right? But they don't see like all the discipline and work, and they're seeing like the top of the pyramid or the top of the mountain. They're not looking under the water and seeing all the work it takes to get to this peak level in any career, in any point of your life. Like if you're trying to climb to the top and be the best of this, there's so much that people don't see that you're doing, you're doing with no one looking. Like there is so many choices that you make. It's just this
so many
discipline.
Yeses and no's that you're doing all the time.
And so you're looking at another couple, you're like, I want a marriage like that. And you can see like surface level, how they interact, what they do. Oh, they go on a date all the time. Oh, they're always touching each other. Oh, they're, they're laughing together. They interact great, all these things. But man, you have no clue how deep that goes.
And are you willing to do what it takes?
Well, that's the biggest thing. You have no clue. That's what differentiates, the great marriage you can have from the mediocre marriage you have.
Yeah.
Are you willing to do whatever it takes? Yeah.
I saw, and I know both of us had seen this particular reel, and I thought it was so good, but it was this pastor who brought up a gentleman, and he goes, we go to the same gym.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, we both go, we lift weights, and he's like, but look at the difference basically in their physique. Right. And he's like, we both go to the gym, we both lift weights. But his whole thing was like, but the difference is when this other guy leaves the gym, he lives the gym outside of the gym.
Yeah.
Like and where I go to the gym so I can do what I want for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And he just brought that to the spiritual perspective of, people come to church so that they like, I'm covered for the week and I can go do what I want and come back to church, versus going and living the church outside.
Like a mature Christian.
And it's the same in marriage. It's like you have got to live it out. Like you have to daily think about, what does it take for my marriage? What is it like? If you want that marriage that you're looking at and saying she must be so great. And he must be so great. They would never do this. Yeah, and that's literally what people are feeling, right?
Absolutely.
Like, well, you don't understand what he is like, and you don't understand what she is like.
Or they try to make that person into something they're not. And then that causes tension. You have I'll tell you this. We are transparent in this realm, of course. Like if you know us, like we follow all these things. We have to.
It's our lessons we've learned. Yeah.
And it's not just because we have a platform. This is, you want a great marriage, this is what you need to do. And it never stops.
No.
There's no pinnacle of marriage that
reached it.
You could sit back on your laurels, right? Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
On the flowers. You don't ever reach the top of this. You just keep going. And it takes a lot of work.
And it's like, not to be discouraging, but to really encourage you. Like, don't stop.
Yeah, don't. So work's not a bad word.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Right?
but people think that. It's
Yeah,
like
discipline and work, they're not bad words. They're actually great words.
it gives you a sense of purpose. It gives you a sense of direction.
People that are lazy that have made them, words that are inherently people like shriek at, right?
Yeah. Shriek.
Shriek at.
Okay. I think that's the first time you shrieked on the podcast.
Shriek. What a shrink? What am I saying? Shrink at. Shrink? So. Like, ugh. I don't want to hear that.
If you guys aren't watching on YouTube, you're missing out. Just so you know.
Yeah. So we got it. We
may have to come back for another week just to finish this list.
I don't think so. Don't assume. Ask. You know what assuming does?
Don't assume that I want to do a next episode.
Yeah, don't assume this. No, so
this is one of my
here's
favorites.
The biggest thing with this. This is about communication. Mm-hmm. So don't assume, ask. Silence, if you let silence fill in the blank, then your brain is going to go to the worst case scenario. At least for me, that's exactly what it does.
So if you're quiet, then I should assume you're going in the wrong direction.
Well, first of all, what is the first part of this? Don't assume. No.
I'm not. You just told me.
No, like if you're letting silence fill the space. So that means like if there's something, right? I would say issue, but whatever it is, and we're communicating and I don't ask, then I'm letting silence fill in whatever I think could be the answer. And then your brain goes crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you, like, I think the hard, so what, okay, let me ask you this. What do you think, where does this really hit for don't assume, ask? Like, what's the topics? What are these hard parts of don't assume, ask? I mean,
I don't know if you're looking for me to say something in particular. I'm just asking
you a question. Yeah. Don't let the silence fill it in.
No, I just think in general, assumptions kill. And so I think the longer you're married, you determine you're in something and you decide like already in advance, well, this is how they're going to say it. This is what they think. This is what they mean by that. And we never, well, I shouldn't say we never, but what happens is we don't clarify or let someone clarify intentions. It's just like you're upset about something. And like you said, you let silence fill in the gap. You have already created a narrative around your spouse and their intentions. And it's, when we do this, it's almost always inherently negative. Like we don't fill it in and go like, man, I'm assuming that you just want the best for me, baby. Like
that's what you should be assuming.
Yeah, you should start to do that, but it's not the case.
If you're letting the silence fill in the blank, it's never a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Always a negative. So, I mean, communicate. That's the biggest thing. It really is. Don't ever stop asking questions and asking for clarification.
And I would just add to this very quickly. We've seen this kind of play out a lot in coaching. People start to ask questions and their spouse starts to share. And I understand, and Brad and I, you'll hear a natural rhythm of us interrupting each other on this podcast all the time. Because we do. It's like a natural flow of conversation. Sometimes I can tell Brad gives me a look like, I haven't finished my thought. Now you interrupted me.
Midpoint. Yeah. And then I don't know, because I don't know where it was going. You take it from me.
So I feel neglected. Anyways, no, but we understand there's a natural flow, but you do have to be really careful because usually there's one spouse who's more of an external processor. And if you get someone who's more of an internal processor who's beginning to share, that takes such a tremendous effort.
Let them talk.
And you have to let them finish out the process when they begin to share with you. Because I think because we naturally assume, we start to assume like, oh, okay, well, I'll help you get to what it is that you're trying to say.
Skip the commercials. I know what you're about to say.
Yes, Brad has said that to me. But I think it's important. Like you have to let somebody, even if you think you know, it's actually not helpful to your spouse for you to try to finish off what it is that they're saying. Yeah. I would just be a little side note. Speak life over one another.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
pretty simple.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I would argue that majority of the things we went over are pretty simple. They're not easy.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
We had a whole episode on
Yep.
that.
Simple, but not easy.
No, speak life over each other. Period.
And this goes into like the choosing each other every day. Like you can choose what you say to each other every day.
Yeah. Do you want to live with someone that's beat down? Right. And that doesn't feel, not worthy enough.
Valued
doesn't
or
feel
seen.
valued. Doesn't feel valued. Do you want to live with that person?
Right.
Like, do you want to, I mean, I hope it's not to this level, but it is this whole, like, would you tell your spouse, like, you're dumb, like over and over again? And then what do you expect from them at that point? Like at some point you start believing what is told to you.
Right. Like we're speaking someone into something.
And it could be a total lie that you're believing.
Absolutely.
So speak life over one another. Like you should be lifting your spouse up any chance you get.
Yeah, because it's so easy to point out the things that are not right, and it takes a lot of intentionality to
absolutely. And what's crazy about that is that you're pointing out what's not right, and then you can like turn and look in the mirror and start going down the list again. Like it's both sides.
Oh yeah.
So why are we pointing these things out? Like speak life over each other. Yeah. Absolutely do that. Laugh loud and often.
This is one for us that has been so healing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we have treasured this more and more, is our ability to laugh out with each other and at ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that it has brought so much just additional joy.
There's so much healing if you can laugh at yourself. There really is. And this is not degrading in any manner or anything like that.
Right.
But if you're able to laugh at yourself, like stop taking yourself so seriously. Like really. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It really does, right? There are serious moments in life. Absolutely.
So many.
There's so many. But I had a great TL. We probably are going to have to do a continuation of this.
Yeah.
Before the summer.
You were so.
Well, I thought we were going to get through it, but there's a lot of information.
I know we've only made it through half. So I think we can
this will be a good spot. But I had a great team leader years ago. And I had been under some okay team leaders as I was like moving up through the teams. And I had this one team leader, and he had his flaws for sure. But one thing he always did, and I thought it was great, and at that point there was only 2 full teams, right? And and teams take on their own culture, even within one organization, which is great.
And every marriage.
That's how it should be. And if you looked at both the teams, we were the team, we did a lot. We were getting a lot of serious stuff too, but we were having a lot of fun. And you could see the difference in both teams. Like you could physically see it and feel it. And his thing was like, listen, we know what we do, right? We're not going to take ourselves too seriously. We're very serious people. Like we have a very serious job to do. We have a no fail. Like we cannot fail, right? We have to be successful. But let's have fun until it's time to lock it in.
Yeah.
And that's what we would do. And it was some of the best memories I have. And I have great memories now, but some of the best memories I have. And I mean, you're talking about like going to do serious things. Like, we're moving to a target on a Blackhawk, and we're all laughing and just we know what's going on. We've rehearsed this over and over again. Like we're in this state of like, hey, we're talking about, what we're going to do this weekend. Like we know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
But as we get closer, then you start getting these time calls, and at a certain time call, everyone just stopped. And it was like, all right, like now, like, okay, lock it up. We already knew what we were going to do. We rehearsed it till we couldn't rehearse anymore. We planned, did everything prior to. En route, we had fun.
Yeah.
And then we got to that point where it was like everyone knew, all right, now it's all right. Now it's all focus straight here.
Yeah.
No more jawing, nothing. Just like all focus straight here and go do the job. And that was something that was like brought us so close together.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Really if you think about it, it's like you said, you know, like on the journey to that, right? You're learning to have fun with each other, and it creates that relationship that helps you guys to be able to handle the serious in a better way, because life is serious and heavy in so many times. And if you can't find the moments, this kind of goes back to those little things, right? Like you just take advantage. Every moment you can laugh, do it. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of serious moments in your life that you're not going to be able to laugh at. And there's probably going to be some that you're going to cry at.
Absolutely.
And so taking those things, I was just thinking this, you know, I'm asking the audience, right? If you have kids, have you ever, you know, they're frustrated with something. Have you ever just laughed about it? I'm not laughing like our kid, right? So our youngest is with us. He's the only one with us right now. And he's going through this like teenage, you know, I mean, he looks like a you know, there's no more baby face anymore, right?
I know,
he's like,
it makes me so sad.
It's crazy. But he's got like these hormones that are just like bouncing everywhere, right? So sometimes you can tell he's still walking with us. He's still doing the thing, but you can just tell his
I feel
face.
the teenage angst.
Yeah. And I will laugh. I will laugh right at him. And I'm like, come on. You know, I just start laughing. And you can tell he's still not happy. But there's this piece of him that's trying not to laugh, you know, and it is that point of like, first of all, I don't negate his feelings and his frustration by any means, but sometimes if you have a teenager, you know, it's ridiculous. And so those times, instead of me like dropping a hammer and then ruining the whole evening, potentially, right? Just dropping this hammer and then not feeling good about it later. He's not feeling good about it later. Like all these things, I will laugh.
Yeah.
I will laugh.
Or like you're in our marriage, I think you and I have both done this, even when we can tell the other person is frustrated.
Yeah.
Is there comes a point where we just can kind of laugh about
just laugh,
it.
Yeah.
Or and that just diffuses it entirely where it's like, and you have to make the decision beforehand that you guys will both opt towards that and know when this is appropriate. Know when this is appropriate because
absolutely.
You definitely don't want to just go up and start laughing at your wife at the wrong moment because that will not go well with you.
No.
But find it when you can where it's like, this is a moment where we could just like choose to look at each other and kind of laugh at the fact that we're stressed and we can. Yeah,
there's been so many times like, I just was putting up these sound things, those, what am I thinking of? I just did.
Oh, yeah. Well, now that you said that, I can't.
The sound panels, right?
Sound panels.
But they're like decorative sound panels. You know, they look super cool. And so we put some up in our bedroom, like to cover these windows, right? And the way they're made, like I had to do like a special cut to make it finished on one side with these pieces. And so I do it once and I'm like, I cut the right side. It should have been the left side. So, you know, so then I get the other one piece left. And I go and I tell myself, all right, this is how it's got to be. I do the measurements, do it twice, all these things. I get it all locked down. I'm like, perfect. This is going to look so good. Start cutting it. I go to put it on. And it did the same exact thing. And I got so frustrated. But at the same time, I just started laughing because I'm like, what am I, like, okay. I just made a stupid mistake. Like, there's nothing I can do about it, right? Those things. Like those kind of things where you're working on the car or you're doing something and you make a mistake or whatever. And it's just those things where you just have to laugh. It's not the end of the world. You just have to laugh about it. And those moments, man, they strengthen you in a way that when the serious comes, right? And you know, I go back to even like with the team, you know, we get these calls, you know, it's 1 minute out, 30 seconds out. Like the times before that, those 30 seconds are coming. Like the seriousness is coming. It's coming for all of us. And it's going to happen. Could happen today, could happen tomorrow, could happen daily, whatever it is, but it's coming. Yeah. But before that, like the strengthening you get with just all the steps we've given you, but the strengthening you get with just being able to laugh about things. And then, man,
it's a gift from God.
When those things come, like you tackle it in such a different way than you would have.
Well, you go in lighter.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of it too. It's like you can handle it better because you're not so weighed down. And then you also know, like, this person next to me, they just like they're in the fight with me right now, they can laugh with me. That's powerful. Yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely have to do a part 2. So we will extend by one more week.
Yeah.
And we will get to share with you how we celebrated our 24th anniversary at that point as well. So,
oh yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming right up, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you next week.